What's happening, everybody? It's 420 somewhere, and today we have Liz Grow, who is the co-founder and CEO of Grow House Media, a full-service media agency that specializes in cannabis and hemp. She has also launched a Feminized podcast, and she is inviting powerful women in the industry to come on and give real talk about culture and the future of the cannabis industry. Let's bring everybody on a very special episode of It's 420 Somewhere. Thank you very much for joining us, Liz, and also Miggy. How have you been?
Hey, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, yes, it's our pleasure. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell the audience what you're doing in the industry?
Yeah, so I am Liz Grow, and yes, that is my real name, my real last name. It's just my family name, and but it just happens to be very cool and appropriate for what I'm doing, which is cannabis media. What does that mean? That means that 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, 5 years ago in May, my husband and I started a full service video production agency that was focused primarily in cannabis and hemp. We still took clients outside of cannabis and hemp, mostly to pay the bills because back then, 5 years ago, was like trying to make money as I think a media. And I don't want to call myself like a content maker or content person influencer because it's much deeper than that. I'm trying to do broadcast quality production for cannabis. And
Oh, yeah.
that's been the goal. And that's where we are right now. Our company is Grow House Media and we're headquartered just outside of Austin, Texas.
That's the thing. It's not content creator, but that's the thing is Tom. I know Tom since MySpace, and I've been doing like the media stuff for over 10 years now. And it's just what it is. It's for me in the beginning, I thought of like the internet. Like I'm just into like connectivity, and
Yeah.
I joined a couple of guys, finding that outlet to say, hey, we need to change the law. And then the internet expands and becomes it's bigger than all of us, right?
Yes.
In the United States, 300 million people.
Yes.
335.
35, yeah, but, like, the connection we have, like, when it comes to advertisements and doing things or being an outlet,
Yeah.
it's not competition, right? I know you from
Okay.
PCM, and Pro Cannabis Media is so funny because I like
Yeah.
that Johnny, he's legit used to be a reporter.
Jimmy.
I mean,
Jimmy.
yeah,
Yep.
it's so kind of shit. Sorry, dude.
Look, I've been not giving my Illinois report for a few weeks because I got to get moved into this place, but great guy.
Yeah,
Really dedicated to getting the word out and the challenges that are in the cannabis media,
Yes.
the censorship online, the censorship on regular media channels, because
Yes.
media companies are scared to take a client as they fear that they'll be exposing themselves to federal liability
yeah,
because
Right.
they are if you're doing media about a cannabis company, you're advertising for the commission of a federal crime, which
Yep.
is freaking weird that
Yeah.
they're allowing this and they aren't enforcing it, except then nobody is going to let you. Like, you can't buy ads. Buying ads is
yeah,
ridiculously difficult for the company.
Yeah. It's crazy. And the world needs more of it because the world needs more cannabis, period. The world needs more access to this plant. And that's
yeah,
where it starts. And the way that we can serve that mission was through media. My husband has an awesome career in production. He has his entire adult life. And it's a really special, magical thing when, that kind of talent is poured into cannabis, into the space that is so bastardized. It's so many opportunists. It's just so slimy sometimes. It's
mm,
so many rules and regulations. Wow. We've got to shine a light on the beauty. We've got to wake people up. So our content and our purpose is to be okay with the censors. Ideally, if we could be on Magnolia Network, that would be an
okay,
incredible thing to have a project on Magnolia Network, which is something that's a goal. But it's just interesting
well,
to think about influencing our society, 335 million people
mm,
through media and in a positive way and in a way that's collaborative.
Yeah.
I thank you for having me on your podcast again. I do so many podcasts and we're all working so hard, but very few people ask me to be on their podcast. And that's okay. Life is busy, but I was just like, wow, thank you for this. This is cool. Expand our networks together.
Yeah.
exactly.
No, I
Yeah,
saw you guys on Instagram and I'm like, man, they know what they're doing. They have production value and shit. I'm in a basement. Okay, fine. I'm on a fourth floor, but whatever.
Mm.
I was in a basement. You should have seen last month's episodes. Literally reporting from a basement.
You're going to miss the basement. This view is dope though. I got to say, this view is like $1 million view. Okay.
There's a
Yeah.
Missouri Valley basketball tournament is the final is going on out back. So like right now, the local team's winning by 5.
Oh, shit. I
Nice.
love it. I
Yep.
love it. That's the storyline right now. That's the collective community storyline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
man.
I'd love to hear about what's happening in Illinois.
Buyer's
W-
market. Illinois
Buyer's
is a
market.
buyer's market. It's a limited market state, and they gave all the licenses to social equity applicants who are poor and that have never done it before. And then they gave them a deadline. And so like they are hard up for cash to get going. And then even if they had cash, they don't have the experience usually that's come with the operations itself. Nobody understands what a financial model is. So like when I'm explaining to people like, okay, why did you give that person this percent of the company? But what in value did they give you for that percentage? Do you know how much it's worth? They don't understand how to do discounted cash flow analysis or all the sorts of things that we do here for money.
Scares
Yeah,
me.
I love this stuff.
But
I've been doing it for years, but
thank you for
yeah,
doing what you do.
yeah.
Seriously.
But
Us nerds that like the math.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're more math and business though. That's the thing that he's been trying
Well,
to.
that's what business is. Business is looking at the numbers and saying, this
Yeah.
doesn't make sense to me. Or how much money can I get to buy on this? And those types of
Yes.
things. And they come up, the numbers in cannabis have been abysmal, and people that have gotten into it were really taken advantage of by financial models that didn't add up and didn't make sense. And then they've created the little problems that we have in Illinois in the sense that they don't want their cash flows to dry up. So the operators that we currently have are doing a very good job at figuring out how to slow it down and to,
Mm.
once they have given it to the people that have the licenses, to ensure that they're going to continue to spread their products and being sold at a large amount.
That's it. So, do you think that things will work out for any of these social equity applicants? How many do you think will survive? Because that's big
Mm.
criticism. But Illinois was really bullish on social equity. Hallelujah. Beautiful thing. Now, in hindsight, we're looking back and it's like, wow, the holes were so big that sharks just swam right on through. And there's blood in the water. And here we are again, letting down communities of color and communities that have been damaged by the war on drugs, letting them down once again, because who are social equity applicants? I'm not shaking my finger at all. I'm just,
Yeah.
It's not just Illinois though.
what's
That's
the
that's the
answer? What's the solution?
Why they require them to be poor just means you're going to have them be exploited. So
yes.
you're taking people that they don't know what a financial model is. They've
Yeah.
never run a company that needs partners, that needs a CFO to explain to
Yeah.
them like they're adequately capitalized.
Right.
Yeah.
They've never managed a bank, let alone owned the bank. The level of regulations that
Shit.
they have to go through to be able to compliantly operate. We just opened one in Illinois and it was like $2.5 million to get it open. And that's in rural Illinois because of how much the security costs. And then you have to update the builds that you do because the regulators are going to require a specific amount that you have to come up to, which makes it very difficult. But then let's say that you were just given it all. Do you appreciate what you have?
You also got to look at too, like the equity thing. It is messed up the way they do it because people are going to be victims. But it's like Tom and I just recently applied for a license together, right? Idealistic, I'm not going to be a millionaire out of this thing. Fingers crossed, I do win, we win. And but I expect, and that's the thing about this business shit is you got to have expectations and what you realistic expectations, right?
Yes.
I plan on selling this bitch real quick. That is it. I'm not going to have full stake as far as name goes, but I really, depending on how the partners, it's all about your partners. So, like somebody says, "Hey, we're going to let you have this much voice in it," then yeah, maybe I'll play more game. And again, I'm more than willing to walk away from something because of nothing.
But he has to be double social equity. And so right
Yeah.
now there is this application round that's going on and it's anywhere. Like there's people in Austin, Texas that could win a license in Illinois. But then how are they going to move to Illinois? Of course not. What they can do, and they can't even sell it until after they're operational. So they have to get all this debt on top of them and
Yeah.
then have some
What?
type of, yeah, because you
Wow.
can't,
Wow. That's
you can
something
only
I
give it
didn't
to these
know.
people. Right. It
Because
gets
that's what
better.
you think you have the license and then you can sell it at least, it's valuable from day one, but
Right.
that's not the
Right.
case.
You can only sell it after you're operational, but then it gets better. You only have to have 51% ownership or control. So you could have 51% control, but not 51% ownership. But you can't have 51% ownership, but not control. And so like you just make the 51% owner, they're just there. And then as soon as you win, you do a capital call on them and then they don't have any money, and then you put in $5 million, and then you're like, all right, now and then you restructure it, and they're completely diluted, or
Yeah.
after they're operational, because after they're operational, then you owe us $4 million, bro. And so
Oh
it's,
yeah.
I don't have $4 million. And then so it's one of those types of things where
Well, that's where it
it's
comes.
human trafficking and it's exploitation. Like, yeah, and then you see people that are just putting them in as much as they can. And then they're trying to get them to sell out for 50 grand on the front end, even though the licenses are
Yeah.
going for $3 to $4 million in Chicago. It's ridiculous that you see it.
Jesus.
And you go like, why is what New Jersey's doing worse than what you guys are proposing here? How is New Jersey's less equitable than this?
Yeah. But that's why you need a lawyer. That's why
No,
I'm
God,
using
that was
Tom.
a commercial right there, man. That was
Yeah.
fucking great media.
It's
Wow.
hard to get those apps in and to have it right, but then everybody seems like they
After.
want it. But, like, the one that's
After.
going on in Texas is
Yeah.
ridiculous. The one in Texas, and then
Tell me about the one in Texas. Okay, let's talk about Texas because I'm
Yes.
Texan and I love to talk Texan. And I'm going to show you my patch. I wore this
Alright,
especially for the show.
nice. I'm trying
If
to
you
find out where my
win.
cursor
If you
is.
ain't a
Oh, yeah, if
farmer,
you ain't
you
a
ain't
farmer.
shit.
Oh shit. Nice. Yes. But
Thank
funny that
you.
you tell us about Texas though. We're not there. What is the market like? It's just a hemp market, right? Delta 8, Delta 9 gas station.
Mickey. First of all, you didn't even get to say hello at the top of the show because I was just so excited and jumped on board. Would you like to say hello?
Oh no, you're good.
Are we
No,
good? Okay.
I don't ever. I just kind of. The podcast is just more of a conversation that we're just
Yeah.
trying to keep on going. Like it's part of like just 100 things that we do together.
Yeah.
Check out our website. I like to do more writing than I do this or the memes. It's all about the memes and just making
Mhm.
people laugh. This is just
Yep.
another part of some shit that I do that hopefully does something. And some things have done something, and other things just whatever.
Yes. I love that. I'm taking a picture of you guys.
It's
Right
a
on.
documentary as
Yeah.
well.
Yes.
I
Culture.
Yeah.
yes, but okay, let's talk about Texas, guys. Let's talk
Yes.
about Texas. It's a beautiful state. We talk about 300 million in the country. I see 30 million. Numbers are at 2.9 million or 28.9 million people in the state of Texas is what you'll see, but it's more like 30 million. Our borders are leaky and we've got lots of undocumented Texans. And so I say 30 million. And what we are doing at Grow House Media is trying to help to educate our people and our Texas community. If we hit on a national level, cool. We travel everywhere because we want to bring what's happening in legal states back to our state and just tell our friends and family in our community because that grows. And that's how we will get legal cannabis across the finish line. Okay. So I'll just start there. But what's happening now is we do have a medical program. It's called the Teacup program. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but for those of you listening who are not, the Teacup program allows you to get a prescription for THC. And yes, it is a prescription. People from California like to call me out on that sometimes because I'm involved in this conversation on a daily basis. And so you can't do a prescription. It's got to be a recommendation. And I'm like, no, bro, this is Texas. And you don't know, this is a different country. Like you don't
It is, but
know how we do things here. And we want to learn from how y'all have done things and more candidly how y'all have fucked things, unfortunately. So we're trying to learn in Texas. It's slow and steady wins the race. We can get a prescription for THC. It's low THC products, but because of the beauty of chemistry, it's only products. It's not flour. Okay, so
Right.
all
Yeah.
flour is illegal. You could still go to jail for a
all
joint.
flowers illegal?
Yes.
Flour
All
is
flour and
that?
like the THC level, what is it, 1%?
Oh my God.
over
So it's hemp.
0.3%. Over 0.3%. It's illegal
Jesus.
and you can go
Oh,
to
I
jail.
thought your medical
So-
was like 1%. But there's an application window going on right now in Texas, and because there's 3 dispensaries, and dispensary is a misnomer in Texas regulatory rubric. It's called a dispensary, but it is for all intents and purposes, what they call an MMTC in the other states, a
Yeah.
treatment center, a medical marijuana treatment center, meaning you have the grow, you have the process, and you have the retail. You have to have all 3, which makes it substantially more expensive. And then there's only 3 of those in the whole state.
Right.
Which is
And only
great.
2 who are operational. Okay.
Which-
I repeat, 2 are operational because as a media company that focuses in cannabis, who do you think we work with in Texas?
Shit.
It's beautiful. We're building this program
Damn.
and it's a big state, y'all. And the voters are able to decide who their lawmakers are. And that's where the laws leave our hands as Texans.
Oh yeah.
We have to be involved in the local level. We have to be involved every step of the way. We have right now we're in 88th legislative session, and we are looking to expand our teacup program. Of course, there are many bills that seek to legalize, but I just don't see it happening this session. I don't think that's a spoiler alert.
Yeah.
I think that's a reality, knowing who we have making the decisions
What is
and who made the decision not to go to the polls.
yeah.
But you
Okay.
guys,
What's
In
the
November, because I partially put this on Texan. If you want legal weed, I ask you, when was the last time you voted
yeah.
for legal weed?
seriously?
Voted.
Yeah, I just voted. But in your vote, even if it's for school council, what the fuck ever,
Yeah.
you are voting for that person who is truly influencing the rules and regulations in your space. And it just blows my mind that people can be so careless with that right.
Yeah.
And people can want so badly this plan, but yet not take the action. It's definitely not fully on the voters, but I do have to say, I'm definitely shaking my finger there. But yeah, we've got a lot of alternative products that are, you know what, quite honestly, some of them are pretty awesome.
Yeah, and then you have a lot of cannabis that comes in from over the border in New Mexico or in Oklahoma. Yeah,
My kid was grown here. Come on,
but
you are
but
kidding.
that's
Our Liberty market is strong and proud, and we grow fire.
good.
And I, you
What's
could be my
the
lawyer, Thomas.
I would have to
Tell me
get
what I
barred
gotta
in
say.
Texas. I can consult. But the question that I have is what's the zeitgeist, which of course Texans would never call it that. But what's
You're
the
right.
ethos
Well,
or what's
okay.
the culture of Texas when it comes to business climate? Because depending on what your culture is when it comes to that business climate, like here in Illinois, it's closer to like how it is in Las Vegas or even New Jersey or New York, where it's I got this right and I'm not giving it to anybody. 'Cause this is a sure thing to make like a limited market state, kind of like how there's only so many dispensaries, there's only so many gambling outfits. And
yes.
then, and so is it more of that, or is it more along the lines of what in Michigan or in Oklahoma or in New Mexico, where it's, hey man, it's free market capitalism. If you want to get a license, you get a license, you can lose your shirt, you can make a lot of money, freedom.
No, it's the former, unfortunately.
Wow.
It is a controlled market right now, and those who are in control are not going to give up that power.
Yeah.
And why should they? As they themselves would probably tell me to my face. I'm privy to conversations that I feel so grateful to be privy to, and I have to listen with respect, and I have to understand the other side. And it's it, so it's controlled right now. I won't paint it with that nefarious brush right now because I don't think it is, but I do think that more Texans need to be involved. More Texans need to be in the know, so to speak, and talking about the fact that why don't we have flour first and foremost? It is the cheapest
Yes.
Yes.
best way to get this medicine into your body, period. If we love Texans, then why are we actually serving Texans? The reason I fight this fight is, as I'm sure y'all do, many people in your lives who have suffered and died, who didn't have this plan to give them any relief or any benefit during that time in their lives. It's wrong. And
You
as
guys,
long as I don't know, man. As long as we're doing what we're doing, we have to, that's really the zeitgeist, if you will. It's underground, it's slow moving, but it's happening. This conversation is being had. And I think what's happening is a bridge is being built, an understanding. How can we save face and make this decision? How can we profit more and make this decision? But this decision needs to be
yeah.
made. And do you want to be on the right side of the law or not? And that's a big deal in Texas.
Yeah.
This is not going away and we can still control it. And this is my message to lawmakers.
Yeah. It
So
sounds
let's
like you
talk
guys
about
need
power. Let's
1,000
talk about
craft
home grow.
growers. That's what it is.
Seriously.
1,000 craft grower licenses.
Yes.
That is 35 million people in Texas. You're talking about 14,000 square feet of flowering canopy. That would cost you about 10 to 20 million dollars to build out, depending on how you do it, meaning that not everybody can do it. So
Not
we're
everybody can
just
do
talking
it.
about the rich
Farmers-
people.
Yeah.
He's talking about the rich people, Texas. Come on.
No.
Like, the real
Oh,
thing.
We are farmers. We are farmers at scale. And that's one thing that we have going for us. We have the water. Okay. We have the water and we have the farmers and we have the land.
yeah.
And yes, big part of my production work has been in hemp
Hmm.
because hemp will save the world. I believe. I know that we believe.
Yes.
And what we could do in Texas and what we are doing in Texas is big, really big and exciting. And your mind can't help but go to what can happen in the craft cannabis space. We can all be smoking top shelf. All of us, we can
Yeah.
have a program that serves Texans.
You guys have a shit
Grows
ton
the
of
crop.
vineyards between Austin and Houston. A shit ton, dude. Like when I drove back across the country through Texas from Lake Houston, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many vineyards. And then you cross a lot of like greenhouses that are like fucking an acre long. Like this building alone, the maintenance of this fucking thing, you're like, oh my God, just the vacuuming, the circulation, the shit that has to go on in the thing. That's science, it's farming, but they do. There's a lot of lost potential, right? Because Don, we talked about what the Kansas Federal Reserve says Missouri, because of Oklahoma, they got the most revenue, like the second highest. Can
Yeah,
you
they're
imagine
doing
the
great.
money?
But
You know what I heard?
Oklahoma is everybody that has got a pulse, and $2,500, you get a cannabis license.
Amen,
They're
amen.
trying to
We're
get up
fighting.
to that flowering canopy. Like if you want it, if Texas is more along the line of there's special people who then they're going to want that limited market state where there's only like 1,000 craft growers, because then you know who's on the club and who's not on the club, and you've made it so large that it costs, I don't know, $100,000 to apply for the freaking license. And then once you get it, then it's 6, 8, $9 million to get it operational. Most people don't have.
Oh, most people don't have it, but actually Texans do have it.
Yeah.
We have money here as well. We have capital here. And so the taste, the appetite for cannabis industry here in Texas, it's strong. Again, it's underground. And we may talk with an accent, but we definitely carry calculators. And so if it's a good
Ross
deal, it's
Perot
a
was from Texas. You
well,
know,
what?
Ross Perot was from Texas.
Thank you.
Uh,
I think half of Texas owns like Oklahoma and Wyoming, right? They help
Yeah.
set precedents. They like old families, ranchers and shit got deep pockets and they extend that central area. So you still got a lot of that old money that's helping set precedents, which is, they should be pointed out, they're losing on one, revenue from taxes and all the other bullshit they can be bullying people with about like legal statuses and in court. Cause that's where these guys win, right? With
Yeah.
bullying in court.
Build a beautiful wall that helps us bring people through,
Yeah.
that helps us treat humans like humans. And let's pay those humans who work to protect our borders. Let's pay them well and let's protect their families. All of these simple these are human rights, and not cannabis is not a panacea, and cannabis is not here to solve all problems. But I believe very strongly that the $28 million that walks across the border to New Mexico
Oh yeah.
every month,
Mm,
we could probably use that money.
yeah.
And you know what? Our weed will probably be better too. There,
Mm.
I said it.
But also, that's just the money stopping in Texas. There's shit going on in Mexico. Mexico
Yeah.
is so shitty. They're fucking smuggling American weed. And
Fuck, no,
never thought I'd see the day.
yeah, but
no,
it's
no,
great, isn't it?
the cartels are giving interviews now how they want to be seen as serious cannabis farmers. Oh my God. I laughed so hard
Yeah.
when I read this article, when they had little tears in their eyes and how they wanted to be taken seriously. I'm just like, oh my God, please. It's
Good luck.
it's that profitable though.
But it's
It's
the lack
that
of
profitable that the
infrastructure.
cartels are thinking to,
Yeah,
And
smart thing.
that's why they're
Yeah.
still poo weed, bad weed. Because like when you try to take
but
it,
their fentanyl is where they're making.
that has a better shelf life. And so like when you take a horticultural product like high quality weed, and then you subject it to all of that stress. And when you have, and so it's all the heat, you packaged it all up there, and then you're trying to ship it. It's not in climate controlled environments. It gets dry. It gets all sorts of things. It can get moldy. It stinks. That's why it sucked. And you're not going to compete with a craft cannabis that has a perfect controlled environment to do it. And then it is ready to smoke right then.
Oh yeah.
It's
And
local.
down the street, my neighbor, this is a conversation that I cannot wait to have. My neighbor grows the most fire Northern Lights. I am dying because I can't wait to get a piece of that. That's not a conversation that I have now
Right on.
because I don't know that if they, I want, this is the type of community and local economy I think that cannabis
Well,
sparks. And that's what Texans are about, real Texans. It's about
yeah.
community, local economy, safety, family.
And all that's knowledge. Cause like the
Mm.
knowledge of a good grow. Cause you see some grows, like a grow for personal use versus a grow for like, I want to sell this in a mass market are two different things. One that I do in my basement with my lights and shit in my own house is different than say, I want to sell this to 100,000 people out there, whatever. Cause that grow, people are going to walk in with suits and with beard guards and gloves because the plant is reactive to a lot of shit.
Yeah.
So if you
But
have
if
a
they were
good,
making potato salad that you were going to
right,
then box up and then put it in a refrigerated truck and ship it to the grocery store, they'd be wearing the same thing. They
Yeah.
would still be wearing protective gear for hygiene and cleanliness.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
the same purpose. We're putting it in our bodies. It's a food, or it's, I mean,
Yes.
I think like even the smokable form of it would qualify as a food. But
Mm.
as a result, you can see how it's going to be regulated. We're doing it right now for food
Yeah.
or tobacco or alcohol.
Yeah, we don't need your cartel weed. Okay.
Yeah.
We
No,
don't.
that's the truth. But unfortunately for you guys in Texas, the whole like a liberty state, but yet you can still go to jail for a fucking plant. Little
That's the irony. You feel so big and bad with your guns and your Jesus and whoever else you want to worship in your car with the fucking muffler that's so loud or whatever that piece of equipment is in a car, whatever. Cool. I'm Texan. I like a big truck, but you can't grow a plant in your backyard, man.
yeah.
And if
Can't,
you
it's
have a
not even a
joint,
plant. It is a flowering plant. You
yeah,
can't grow a frickin' flower in your backyard. It's no, that flower is a federal crime. You're
it's
like,
embarrassing.
wait,
It's
Yeah.
this flower?
embarrassing. Just we should legalize fully
Right.
before the feds do.
Yeah,
Duh.
and not only that, like,
To stick it to him some more.
but think about it, like, that flower right there. You know what I mean? That one that's coursing through of water that still has 2 weeks before it's ripe for harvest. That one. What the hell do you think I'm gonna do with that? I can't do anything, even though you cut it down when it's right and you pick it. And then, okay, now I have to go process this and cure it. Otherwise, it's gonna be really harsh and you're not gonna enjoy it as much. And so nobody is doing anything
No.
to get high when they have that flower there. They'd still have to do more work to make sure that they can bring that in so they can enjoy it and can have all of its benefits for the person consuming it.
Yeah,
It's
it's a
ridiculous.
business. It's a
Yeah.
business. It's a big boy and big girl business. And
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. And I love that. Hey, are you friends with Bob Hoban?
Oh, I know. I don't think I've ever spoken to Bob, but I know of him. And so I'm not friends with him. I
Yeah.
know that he is Clark Hill. I don't know where he lives.
No, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I just think you have the same vibe, and that's very cool because he's definitely a thought leader in the space and he's just a cool dude. But yeah, I think you guys should chat. I love Bob.
Nice.
We are
Oh,
friends. Okay.
I'll have to have him on the
We bonded
podcast.
in Jamaica together.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah. One day I get to travel, I hope, but I had to get this place open first.
Yeah, man, of course. You're traveling with your podcast. I think this is very cool that you're doing this and that you have as many different sub genres of the industry on the show. You and Mickey, you are an awesome counterpart.
Appreciate it.
Seriously, in Washington and Seattle.
No, yeah. No, like Tom said, we would come to culture thing too, right? Like I was saying about the media, I accidentally got into this. I'm an accidental. This is all I like to write, and then accidental journalism is what it came about, and then accidental networking and accidental I made a thing without meaning to because it's all about activism. And for me, knowing the algorithm I talked about in our podcast today was like we had a minute where our information was out there because Tom and I just filled out the license. But I got a random phone call from a stranger and I answered it. He's like, "Is this Miggy?" And which scared the shit out of me. Like, not many people, I've always wanted a random phone call, but it'd be from like the government reaching out, telling me like they need me to send me on a secret mission to help meet the aliens. That'd be
I can't wait to like
Yes.
flunk you later with that knowledge that I have
The
of you
government
now.
needs you to search with the aliens.
Yeah,
I'm gonna spin up a Google VoIP and then it's gonna be from there's no 420 area code. Ain't that
Chuck,
upsetting? There ain't no 420 because I tried to get one. Because like with Google,
that'd be
like
awesome.
so Google Voice, you can pick whatever area code you want. So if I get a New York office, I'll pick a 646 area code. And I was like, oh, okay, let me see if I can get 420. Area code not found. I'm like, oh, you bitch, America.
But can you make one? That's the question. There's another
Oh my God.
entrepreneurial avenue because you know how many fucking people would buy 420 numbers? Like the whole industry, right? Everybody would buy.
You
It's
have
like
to have a
.com.
Is it
420
on
number
like a
to
no
think.
list?
Whoa.
Oh,
That was
if
yeah.
you point out to the fucking feds, like, hey, for $100 whatever a year, I'd pay for an area code. And
Be a
because
citizen of your country if you
Yeah.
needed a country to get an area code. I feel like we could start one. We could find an island. We have a couple citizens. We'll be there. Let's just be there for a week.
Yeah, then we'll start a bank so that we're exempt from all the security and
go.
exchange laws. And then we
Okay.
can start doing some real investments.
Okay. I like the way you think. I think this is the handshake.
Yeah. Banks were my principal clients for most of my legal career.
Oh,
Before cannabis clients, I was a financial lawyer.
you're a glutton for punishment. Or
I became a stockbroker out of law school. It was 2008. I became a financial lawyer.
But that financial lawyer side is the thing that's helped him out with the cannabis industry lawyer. That's the thing
totally.
that's like fundamental, like a backbone, kind of like with your husband and his media. So what with your
Yeah.
husband? What is he like? Like a camera guy, producer? Like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a producer, director, executive
oh,
producer.
okay.
Yeah. So he knows all the facets, every facet, and he can do it all. But the gift is in the doing and the putting it all
Mm,
together. And so that's really fun. It's like people have ideas all the time about
yeah.
great shows or whatever. And it's like they don't know how to do it. And so they'll hire us to help them do it, pilot or put together brand campaign with video,
Okay.
build around video with very
Service
specific messages.
businesses. Service businesses are good. They're
Yeah.
better than product businesses, according
Yeah.
Yeah.
to data that shows if you want your business to succeed.
Yes, amen. And it feels more in control for what we do and what we want to do. My background, I was a therapist, so and LPC, and I worked with couples and mostly women and adolescent girls, and it was awesome. But I was also in my 20s, and it was a lot. It was really heavy. So I transitioned away from that, but in undergrad, I got my computer science degree. And so I joined a startup in San Francisco, but I was their forward facing like clinician because
Mm,
it was a startup that helped military folk ease the transition from their military to civilian lives. And I come from a military family. General Grow, look him up. That's my great granddaddy. Yeah.
Now,
dope.
So
General Grow sounds like it's a nutrient line. I'm not gonna lie.
Seriously
I know,
though.
right?
General Grow Nutrients only
I
uses
guess
the best
Major Grow
potash.
too. I gotta
Yeah.
have a strain called Major Grow, and it'll help you like
Oh,
clean the house, like top to bottom, like an insane person.
like a sativa.
Yeah, just take New York City diesel or like sour D, and then slap a new name on it.
There you go.
Yeah, you know what? You got to tweak it. You tweak those genetics. That's the beauty of this plant. It's a different. It's a plant that continually like builds on itself and serves us even better and even more precisely as we are able to just get those genetics dialed in.
Yep.
It's never going to be boring ever and
Yeah.
ever. The hard thing is keeping those strains, those legacy strains, and certainly those landrace strains safe and in a place where we always have access and we have universal access, but it's controlled. It's our medicine.
Universal access will take longer, but then
Yeah.
they're safe. They are
Yeah.
California's out there, Colorado's out there. There are seed
Texas
banks.
Tech.
There are like banks of tissue
Texas Tech.
cultures. There are
That's it.
tissue culture banks out there. It's as safe as Google is safe.
See,
If
I
something's
know
gone wrong, like we have bigger problems if the cannabis supply has gone wrong.
hey man, I believe you. I believe you. But it's all an interesting conversation. And the Texas Tech University is starting a seed bank, which I think is very interesting. A THC seed bank. And they want to be the
That's
biggest in
pretty
the world.
cool.
And I'm like, Texas
Wow.
Tech? Yeah, so the story's happening here in Texas. Just straight up. It's
Just
so
don't get
much.
caught.
Then we need to get all the people that want piece of the revenues, and they need to get under a hat or a tent. And then we have to go, okay, how do we protect everybody in here? And then there will only be like 1,000 families that operate all of cannabis in Texas. But that's how it is in any state.
Yeah.
Right now.
And
That's
Texas
it.
is huge. 1,000 is like a tiny number.
Yeah,
We've got like 1,000 people were at my wedding. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true. It was
Yeah.
146, but
that's
But
ridiculous.
you guys will be behind the power curve once federal legalization happens, right?
we
I mean, like,
definitely will. We are. There are a lot of people working right now behind the scenes, working so hard, having these conversations. It's easy to get all worked up, which is something I do very well, I think. So on Grow House TX on Instagram, this is the Instagram channel that Patrick and I started 4 years ago when Grow House, the series premiered on High Times TV, which is a show about a Texas
nice.
couple who had to go to legal states to figure out what getting high was all about, essentially.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
great. It's still there on High Times TV. It's phenomenal. We have 2 seasons. But yeah, like we get mad, but we don't need to get mad. We just need to stay vigilant. We need to vote. And we need to remember that there are people working. There are really smart people that are much smarter than we are working on this problem in
Oh, yeah.
Texas. So hopefully they find us entertaining.
I hope so. And I also hope
You
that
know,
they have license limits because now that you have a
amen.
limited license state of only 1,000 grows, I say
Hang on 1 second.
Texas needs to have
No,
3,000 dispensaries. I want them to have at least 3,000 dispensaries in Texas. 1,000 craft grows, 3,000 dispensaries. You're allowed to own 10 dispensaries and just 3 craft grows. If we could get that license limitation, it'd be
Yeah.
fantastic for
And again, they'll be behind the curve overall once federal legalization happens. Because if you only have 1,000, which is just like your foot, and compared to state stuff, right? Everybody knows Texas barbecue and steakhouse and stuff. There can be Texas cannabis in the United States, but no one has a chance. You guys just don't have that market started.
It's not legal. But
No.
then they can how do they wanna regulate it? And maybe they come at it with, "Let's get ready for the feds," and so that's why they would go with GMP certification or some type of regulation that they know once the feds get their act together, which again might take 6 to 8 years, they'll be already.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you see? Do you feel like you're very plugged in into the Texas kind of political scene?
Oh, no. I know
Okay.
absolutely nothing about the Texas political scene.
Okay.
I'm everything that I know about the Texas political scene was probably based off of television shows like Dallas or the James Dean movies, like from Giant to that one. That is completely not how Texas operates, or
I
There Will Be Blood. I'm assuming also
or
not how
is it?
Texas operates.
Or is it?
I have no idea.
I
Yeah.
seriously, that's
But
hilarious that I asked you that question. That's very, I think, who do you know? But that's what you have to do when you're still underground right here in Texas. And people aren't going to be open supporters of cannabis. They just will not here. They will not be that way here.
oh, yeah,
So you
Even if
gotta
it was legal?
what?
Even if it was legal.
Oh no, if it was legal, they'd change their tune. If it was legal, they'd probably have one of the licenses,
exactly.
to be quite honest.
But part of your guys' problem in
But right now
Texas,
they're not going to be open about it.
but it's the process that's holding you guys up, right? Because like in Texas, it's the legislature that has to initiate it. But you guys are such a gerrymandered red state that all the guys that are so blindsided and ignorant keep winning, and then they're never going to initiate it because it's not their priority. They don't care about money. They don't care about tax revenue to the state and helping them out. They don't care about the patients or like a chance of wellness choices. Whoever's got the deep pockets, like you said, people aren't going to talk about it, be pro until, but the legislator, that's it. You guys don't have in every state that's been winning so far. It's been the citizens who create a bill and enact something. In Texas, you guys, I know you talked about how like you got to like an Ohio model where you got to go by county, by city,
Yep.
knock out the dereg. But to actually have a sweeping, actual real reform, you're gonna have to get rid of Ted Cruz's and Greg Abbott's. That's it.
You're yeah, you're so Miggy, I think you're absolutely right, and I really hope that I don't like that you're right, but you're right. Why? The question is why, and I think we need to it's hard to depersonalize it. It's hard not
Yeah.
to be emotional about it. It's a very good question. Very good question, and we could talk about it for the rest of our lives as we sit on top of our money and not give you access to your medicine. And I think that's a very Texas thing to do, which is why we've got to do this dance.
Hmm.
We've got to understand where certain legislators are coming from who are proponents and who are advocates, but who are also trying to do other things and they can only help so much. And then versus the ones who are like Joe Moody, who's every legislative session, every 2 years, his bill for legalization is beautiful. It's more robust. It's more Texas friendly. It's more exciting. And but his bill wasn't even heard 2 years ago. So is it going to be heard this year? I don't know. I don't
What
know.
it
We only have 140 days though to solve all of Texas's problems.
If I was like the CEO of Cresco or GTI, I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fly down to Texas and figure out who runs the place." And then
seriously.
because if you could take 100,000, 230, $300,000 and throw it at various legislative offices in Texas and get the bill you want, your stock will go up.
Oh yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, and but think about this. So there's that like head scratcher. But then there's also the fact that we know that oil and gas last year contributed 1.9 million to Greg Abbott and the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's campaign. So
Mm.
we know that's going on. We also know that Big Pharma is supporting Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. And so it's a money game. When it's like, how deep are your pockets? 300,000 ain't shit. To get the license, what I'm hearing as far as application goes, I mean, it's upwards of 1.3 million all in. And you may never see that again. I was just at a grow yesterday, a one that hopes to win. They are applying currently, can't name them, but they've just finished out their 5th greenhouse.
Nice.
Now, luckily, they grow beautiful award-winning hemp. That's beautiful. And they make other products. And so they've got a business model that works when it comes to hemp. But the real prize is growing the THC. And
Yeah.
like it's happening, man. And it's not It's not a game for people who are ready to lose $1 million.
I think I
Yeah.
figured it out though for you guys. What you guys need is a bill tied in with like guns. Be like, look, we're going to pass this bill that ties in protection for gun owners, for consumers of cannabis. And then within that bill, legalize it. Just be like, look, at the same time, we're going to take it off the book
Right?
because we're
Well,
just trying to provide protections.
we wouldn't get any support from the gun folk
Yeah.
because they don't want to have anything to do with us. Their primary focus is protecting our Second Amendment, which I support, and I support them, and I want them to keep their eyes on the prize. And they're not going to dirty themselves talking about cannabis legalization like a space and place that they know nothing about, that they don't need to know anything about, as they themselves, I think, believe. Why wouldn't they? Again, it just goes back to why when we're in Texas. And we need to just be more effective educators and communicators, unfortunately, when it comes to cannabis. We need those
Very
numbers,
true.
Thomas.
Yeah, numbers help, but then money talks.
Yeah.
And so they already have their stuff situated.
Yeah.
There's that.
We're the ninth largest GDP in the world. Big
Wow.
deal. People will be rich around here.
Yeah.
Right.
And you're giving it all to the cartels or the illicit market because you
Yep.
don't have an actual market, which means that you don't have any industry players also.
Yeah. No way. I'm excited. It's crazy. It's a wild west out here. And so making media around what's happening is it's awesome. There's never a dull moment. We've got awesome clients who are just trying to do great things, tell stories that grab normal people who don't smoke weed during Zoom meetings. You know what I mean?
Hey, I signed a contract for this job, and it said that I was allowed to use medicine during Zoom meetings.
Very cool.
You got
I
me.
just love it. I just feel like it enhances the experience. You guys are awesome. And I was a little frazzled when I came on the call today because of my earbud situation. Thank you
Oh,
for having a hospitable atmosphere to smoking. It's a big deal.
Of course. And then how can people go ahead and find Grow House Media in the interwebs?
So interwebs are fun, right? I think near term, even long term, it's Feminized podcast is really a project that is close to my heart, my team's heart. We launched it last February and we've got 67 or 68 episodes out now. And that is Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. But yeah, we have a website, feminizedpodcast.com. And you can go and kind of sniff around. It's definitely a place that will have just a lot going on. Yay, our YouTube as well. Feminized Podcast YouTube. Subscribe. That would be really cool if you did that because we can do more when more people subscribe. And these conversations are amazing. Like, I highly recommend if you're not a woman, that's okay too. You're going to love the conversation. But I only talk to women in the industry who are killing it, who are
very cool.
inspirational, and who are loving their life and their place in it. It's not about
Mm.
man bashing, but it's about, hey, how do we keep this going? And how there's a sisterhood, just like there's a brotherhood. Hello, we're different.
Yeah.
And so that's really what Feminized is about. So tap into that. It's really awesome. Grow House TX on Instagram is the place where it's the central repository for our advocacy stuff and our news. We have a party coming up during South by Southwest. And if you visit
Oh, yeah.
growhousemediaevents.com, you'll learn more about the Outlaw Party. But
Very cool.
yeah.
Great. So we really appreciate coming on 420
Yes.
Somewhere, where we like to talk to people in the industry about what they're doing. And if that's you, don't forget to get in touch with us at somebody reached out and emailed me, I think, at tom@collateralbase.com. And then
Yeah.
if people are in the industry, want to come on the podcast, just give me an email and then we'll get you on there and see what you're doing in the industry. We really appreciate it. And any closing thoughts before I hit hang up?
I love you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. You're killing it. Truly. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
And check out this next video. It's what ails you.